Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to the Monday Discourse for today, October 17th, 2022. I'm your host, Tristan. Let's take a look. I got some stuff to cover. Yes, here's my opening spiel. I don't know why I lost it. All right. Hi, my name's Tristan. I'm the host of Step Back at, stepbackhistory.com, or I'm the co-host of It's Probably Not Aliens at probsnotaliens.com. I stream on Mondays at noon, mostly holidays and life permitting. And if you want to keep that work going, as well as all the other stuff I do, my stuff can be supported at patreon.com/stepbackhistory for as little as 84 cents a month. Early videos, extra content, no ads. Channel memberships on YouTube, always welcome. Twitch Prime, no extra cost to you if you have Amazon Prime. Or, if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime subscription per month to use to support a creator at no extra cost to you. It's baked into your membership, so if you choose Step Back, I'll be very grateful. And of course, if you have a little bit of change, things like Super Chats, Bits, and Twitch subscriptions are all welcome and obviously not necessary, but definitely welcomed. As far as content goes, my latest video is on... Which one is my latest video? I'm so... Life has been so chaotic that my latest video is, I think, the President Garfield assassination. Right, that's a good one. The President Garfield assassination is my latest video. My next video is part 2 of my video on the history of modern Russia. So that should be coming out... For patrons, I'm hoping to have it come out either tomorrow or Wednesday, and it should be going out to the public on Friday. So that's basically the plan at the moment. And of course, if you can see on the screen here that if you go to stepbackhistory.com/stream question, you could submit questions to future streams or even to this stream, because we don't have a ton of questions today. So, it's very likely that you'll get your name in there. So, and yeah, if there's anybody in the chat who's new, please make yourself known. Say hello, because we have a very active community here that participates in the chat, so join on in, please. You never realized that my opening spiel is a script? It's not a script, it's like bullet points. But yeah. Gotta make sure I don't forget anything. All right, I think that should be everything. So, I'll bring you guys the what you are really here for, which is to get Mia and do Mia things. All right, let's do this. Zoom in a little bit. Hello. You are silent. But it's probably on my end. 1 second. Let me just a second. All my audio devices got fucked up again, which apparently happens constantly now. So I need to, because I need a new computer, but I don't have money. So I just kind of roll with what I got. Can you try speaking now?
How about now? Do I sound good?
Yes, you are now audible.
I am now audible.com.
No. I was talking about how I am like relentlessly cheap. I was recording the podcast with Scott the other day, and I was like, I really will not spend money on anything, even if it's like egregiously broken. Like I've had these headphones now for like 4 years, and like the foam is coming off of one of the ears, and like I have to keep putting it back on. And as of yesterday, one of the ears just doesn't give me any audio anymore, and I'm like, do I really need to buy a new? When am I really doing stereo stuff? Really, right?
Just then.
That's the kind of person I am, and I'm still wearing like 12, 13-year-old t-shirts that don't fit. It's just,
Me too.
How you been? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I'm good. I'm busy. I'm so fucking busy now, post-election.
You're a politician now.
I'm literally a politician now, so it's a lot of work.
Yeah. you got
We
any
talked about
lobbyist
maybe
money
moving
yet?
the streams away from Mondays, which I still have to get back to you on that, but like this Monday works.
But most
Probably
don't.
next time we stream will also work. After that, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, we'll work it out. I have to. It has to be coordinated between different parties because, like, my wife's like moved her meetings to different days of the week so that she could clear out this area on Mondays. So we have to like. There's a lot of parts when you have
There's a lot of moving parts.
an angry gremlin that you have to watch 24 hours a day. So.
Yeah. I mean, even worst case scenario, we can still do Mondays. It's just that some Mondays are impossible, just because the municipal council meets on Monday nights.
Yeah.
Not today. Today they met during the day, but mostly they meet during the night.
Twitter was according to Twitter, you've got actually a pretty nice job in the whole whole what's it called, reigning government of Sweden.
Yeah.
A reigning party of Stockholm.
So what's happened is I've been appointed group leader over my party, which means that like how do party whip?
Oh,
I guess
yeah,
would be
you're
the
a whip.
equivalent.
So you get to force people to vote the right way.
Yeah. But I also get to sort of coordinate, voting. I get to sort of like delegate
Yeah, you
tasks.
do. You get to coordinate voting. You get to show up at their office with a few thugs and be like, "Hey, heard you weren't going to vote on that intersection issue."
Heard you had skepticism about the stop sign on the street.
Yeah, because like what's it called? If somebody posts like an anti-pedestrian legislation, you like run them over with your car.
But I'm the person who's sort of like, whenever someone wants a statement from my party, I'm like locally, obviously in the municipality, I'm the person that has to be like, yes, okay, I will go up and do that.
Sweet.
And I am the one who sort of like tells other people what to talk about and what to focus on.
Yeah, you're
so
party
that
dom. You're doming
I'm
the left party.
Yeah, kind of. So that's something that I got appointed like during this weekend. So since then, actually, I think yesterday even actually. So since then, I've been busy.
Nice.
I might actually have to hire an assistant because this is like legitimately a part-time job. Thankfully, it's paid, but I don't want to stop doing YouTube videos. So I need to like hire someone who can help me do everything.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been doing.
Nice.
I had a meeting today with a bunch of politicians, so a lot of fake smiles and bleached teeth.
Ooh. Now, because like yesterday, so I'll tell you a little bit about, because like right now we're doing municipal elections, and it's weird because in Ontario, just all the cities do all of their municipal elections on the same day. Like we have like 3 levels of government that all have their elections on their own schedules. But apparently when it comes to cities, they will all happen on their own schedule, or all happen on like one thing. So the province has its own. So what happens is we've got the province and the federal government and the municipal government, and they all have their own election cycles, and they don't coordinate. So sometimes we'll have like 2 to 3 elections in one year. And our ballots are always just for like one thing.
Sure.
But yeah, now we're
But
doing.
but why? Because like when we have elections here, we have because we also have 3 tiers of government. Like we have municipal, we have regional, and we have national. So like, why don't you just have them all at the same time? Get them sorted with.
The main reason for provincial versus federal is that Canada is an extremely decentralized country.
Oh yeah, and hates working together.
Yes, and also because we are all parliamentary, it means that all of the different governments are all on their own. Like, you might have a minority government in the federal government, which might call a vote of non-confidence, which means that the provincial government is a majority government, which So
yeah.
The thing is that when Canada has minority governments, we tend to go to the polls like every 18 months. So, because here's the fun part about it. Canada has this thing where the Conservatives, about maybe like 10, 12 years ago, when there was talk of possibly forming a coalition government between the centrist and the like Social Democratic Party, a coalition to keep the Conservatives out of power, they managed to do like a PR campaign to make a bunch of Canadians convinced that coalition governments are undemocratic. So basically every time
keep having that.
So every time we have a minority government, we just keep having like we just have to have an election like every year and a half, because that every time the party whoever's in government produces a budget, it leads to like a government crisis and we have to have another election. Like, it's just...
Canada's a very stable country.
Yeah, Canada's great. We're doing fine. The main thing about our country and how we have managed to be this irresponsible is that Canada is very much what I'm calling reverse Spider-Man, which is just that on the international stage we have no power, so we therefore have no responsibility. So it doesn't really matter. We used to be on the Security Council, and then fucking Portugal took our seats, so now we got nothing.
You got shit.
Yeah, Canada's a nothing country, so... But yeah, that also means that Canadians very easily just get strong-armed into supporting our center-right party just so that we can have a stable government, because it's the only one that they can get a critical number of people... The only party that you can get a critical number of people to agree on is the center-right party or the right-wing party. That is it.
Great. I love how that's a thing.
Oh, you want even more fun? This is why I think that the sort of people who have like pictures of Mao as their avatars on Twitter would love Canada, is because their understanding of politics is so shallow that we have a country where the party that uses red as its color has been running the country for about 75% of the years that it has existed. And that's all they want, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. This is one of those things where I'm like, I have literally not even paid attention to this election. I'm too busy. And we were trying to just find the one person who's like, first of all, mayoral election in my city is not even competitive. The person who there's one person running. There's only
unopposed.
One. There's only one. Well, he's not running unopposed, but he's running like with no real opposition. And this is also the person who is handpicked to be successor to the previous mayor. So it's just like nothing, no purpose whatsoever.
Great. I love it when democracy is just there for just to be there, a set dressing. So everyone's just like, yeah, okay, we did it.
Yep. And then then we're voting for a bunch of trustees on a school board that I'm not going to be participating in until the next election's already over. And then I get to ward chiefs. And we're just trying to find the one ward chief who doesn't want to increase the budget for the police. So
is that a real thing?
What?
The ward chief?
Yeah, it's what's it called? The ward chiefs are like they're the people, like the city is split into different wards and they each get a
the ward chief. Oh.
The war chief. Oh, yeah, that's even more fun. Yes, London, Ontario's war chief.
I was like, hold on.
We're going to annex St. Thomas.
If any country in the world would have it, if any country in the world would have that, I would assume it's something in Canada.
Yeah, it's like something that was stood up. That was something that was implemented 150 years ago that still exists for some reason.
Yeah. Like we have land chieftain here, so I was like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, Jarl, chief fish fermenter.
See, that's the position that I want.
What's it called? Minister of fish fermentation.
Yeah, I want that. I legitimately, I would love that. I fucking love herring.
I know you do.
Fucking love fish.
You are from the peninsula that does terrible things to fish.
True.
I was talking.
We really do, huh? We really do fuck up fish. At least the Danes have normal food.
Yeah, it was because I was talking to one of my friends who is Norwegian, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's the same shit." Because all I know about Scandinavia comes from the Swedish perspective because of you. So every time I meet like a Norwegian guy, he's just like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
No. We also do terrible things to fish.
Yeah.
It's a disease. We all
Slight
have
differences, but mostly the same.
Other things that are in the news. There's the next couple weeks are going to involve far too many video games.
Yes, because Victoria 3 is coming.
Victoria 3 is coming out next week, and on Friday we've got a RimWorld expansion.
Pregnancy!
Where they're introducing reproduction in the game that also has organ harvesting, and where a solution to having crippling addiction is to cut off your legs until the withdrawal symptoms go away.
Oh, also, I think your intro music is still playing.
Oh. Well, I usually have it low, but I can make it lower. Alright.
Yeah. But yeah, fucking reproduction. See, now we're fucking talking. Now I'm going to lose my mind in RimWorld.
I'm legitimately terrified of the implications of babies and children being in RimWorld.
I know. The question I have is, can you harvest them for meat?
Probably.
Because like, probably, right?
Yeah. It's RimWorld we're talking about. So something makes me think that there's going to
farm babies for meat.
Possibly. I feel like that's it's like a pregnancy takes like 18 days, or 9 if you use like an incubation vat type thing. So,
yeah. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like you just keep growing them in the incubation vats.
Oh my goodness.
You have a steady supply of meat.
Who
needs farming?
I don't know what the Kotaku article about RimWorld's going to be next week, but it's not going to be good. I'm feeling like they're just begging for some sort of terrible controversy coming very soon to a RimWorld near you.
I legitimately can't wait. I love RimWorld, and I've been actually replaying it like a little bit now, because it works on my laptop. So because like I'm more out of the house now, I have to like be in office spaces and shit. But I don't want to have to work all the time, so I have RimWorld installed on my work laptop, so I can play that.
I can't wait until there's a newspaper article that finds a picture of like city council happening, and you're like doing war crimes on your laptop, while talking about whether or not they should change the speed limit on I don't know, Olaf Street.
Legitimately would be the funniest shit.
It'd be great. It's like there was this. The fan community went crazy for this, where there's this video of like a club, like a nightclub where everyone's dancing, and then there's just this one girl who's like at the club holding her phone and playing Slay the Spire.
See, that's what you good. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. That's the good stuff.
Can you build trains yet in RimWorld? No. RimWorld is, despite the fact that it has like a traveling mechanic, it's extremely terrible.
There are ways to improve it. I know, like that you have like shuttlecraft. I know that there's a boat mod.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing is that RimWorld is basically a science fiction sexy version of Dwarf Fortress, and Dwarf Fortress also wasn't that great for overland travel. I'm wondering that if there's anybody who wants to like reimagine the Dwarf Fortress like genre, that somebody should definitely try doing one that really fleshes out and makes the traveling and overland stuff more interesting.
Good news, there is a mod to actually build train tracks between colonies, and to operate trains between them.
That's pretty good.
So, yep. Yeah, you can build trains. It's not part of the base game, but you can do it.
There's definitely... Oh yeah, when you get into mods, then it's sky's the limit.
It's such a moddable game. I love it so much.
Yeah, and also, I do love that a lot of this new DLC is like... is really just... what's it called? It's really just taking a bunch of mods from Vanilla Expanded, which is a group of modders for RimWorld that make a sort of collage of high-quality mods that try to just enhance the base game. And they're actually like funded through Patreon, basically.
They make a lot of money, too.
Mm-hmm. But basically, like, yeah, I guess Tynan Sylvester took like a handful of those and just like, because I know that they introduced a genetics mod recently, and they just kind of took that. Oh, that's the other thing that you can do is you can also make a colony of kitsune cat girls or whatever.
Well, yeah, because they have genes now, right?
Yeah, you can do genetic
Like you
modifications. You can make them like have like superpowers and stuff.
so I can have a cat girl cult.
Yes, your cat girl cult can happen.
So I can genetically engineer cat girls. I can have them be in a cult thanks to the idea religion expansion, and they can all be queens
Yes.
thanks to the royalty expansion. See, this is a good fucking game.
Yeah, that I like how they're when they make new content, it all interconnects, and so it just ends up with like, yeah, the Mia Neko cult. There you go.
See, you make a joke here, but like I'm getting a taste of political. I'm getting a taste of power. Like I feel like the leap from politician to cult leader is not that big.
Nah. And you had your sights on starting a cult for years.
I have shit.
You got the hair for
I'm
it.
actually a
You've
little
got
bit
cult
concerned now
leader
because
hair.
I'm legitimately like closer than I've ever been in my entire life to starting a cult.
Perfect.
But like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you either start the cult or you become a cult member. Which one do you want to be?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do you want to join the cult of capital, or do you want to join like a fun cult where you get to dress as a cat?
Yeah. The next part two is then 3 days later, fucking Victoria 3, the game that we have been talking about for a couple years now, is going to be out. And
Yeah.
I haven't played it yet. I haven't. I mean, nobody has. I mean, I would love to. I'm just so excited for the Paradox game that doesn't have a random war game that does not seem to fit in it attached to it.
Yeah. I'm also very happy about that. I'm looking forward to like having a game where that's focused on the society simulator part of it. I am a bit concerned about like how that's going to like balance out because a lot of the games of Paradox, right? Like a lot of the downtime you spend sort of like sorting out your military while waiting for other stuff to happen. You may as well like sort out your military. And if you don't need to sort out your military, then like they need to fill that void with something. So I'm looking forward to see what that's going to be.
I hope so.
I've been kind of out of the loop when it comes to like their dev diaries and shit, so I don't actually know what's happening anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to the release.
I guess it's like reading the newspapers and trying to see what the stock market's doing so that you can figure out what markets you can enter into because this game is insane.
How's the Prussian coal markets doing? I need to increase my naval capacity so I can ship more coal into Germany.
Yeah, the whole pops and commodities section thing means that like way more than other Paradox games, you got to be paying attention to what's going on like all over the world so that like you can exploit crises that happen as they happen. So like if there's like a refugee crisis or if there's like a big war that has like a blockade and the price of the thing that you sell goes way up, you can be like, "Hello, I would like to trade with you now."
Would you like to buy some steel?
Yes. You
I
receive
have a lot of
steel,
steel.
I receive, I don't know.
Increase of standard of living.
I receive food. But I love like because it's gonna simulate a bunch of stuff. Like it's gonna simulate hopefully when like they just started conning poor Europeans to move to the Americas.
Yeah.
So you can see how your people all left to become Minnesota.
Yeah, well, if they have free land, and then you arrive and then you find out, oh shit, yeah, I could either be a peasant here or a peasant there. It doesn't make too much of a difference.
You're like, oh wait, freedom's a scam. Oh,
Oh damn, there is no such thing as free land.
I
Turns
want
out.
I'm gonna play once. My first playthrough is going to be the easiest playthrough that I can possibly get, so I can understand how the mechanics work. And then second playthrough will be my my hell campaign of anti-slavery Haiti go into mega superpower, which I feel like will be tough. But because basically you have to corner, like, what's Haiti's like thing? Probably sugar. You have to like corner the sugar market.
That's going to be difficult, I feel like.
Yeah.
A lot of places in the world can do sugar.
That is true. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And also everyone hates you, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm looking forward for the Krakow into Poland, Lithuania campaign.
Reminds me, my next video this is going to be a section that only goes onto Nebula / for patrons, but I do reference the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, the EU4 meme country, basically. Because I found out
when the SARS arrive.
Yeah. Because apparently the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth is like somewhat responsible for why Russia and Ukraine hate each other. So.
Really?
Well, because what would become Ukraine ended up being annexed through the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and then the people, the Cossacks who lived in Ukraine, were basically like fighting against the sort of the Polish-Lithuanian leadership to try and break off, because they were Catholic, to try and get back into the good graces of their, like, what's it called? Their Eastern Orthodox motherland, and try to get back to being closer to Russia. Like that was like the thing that broke up the sort of like, that's what happened to Ukraine after the Mongols basically split up Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah. Interesting.
And that the reason why a lot, like the tensions in Ukraine between East and West have a lot to do with like how much they embraced that sort of like Catholic Slavic culture versus like Eastern Orthodox Slavic culture.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like a bit more Western focused.
Because there is part of modern Ukraine that was never part of the Russia, that was never part of the sort of old Kievan Rus Empire.
Yeah.
And that part happens to be like on the western fringe of the country and happens to be the most pro-European today, because history is important to understanding how these things work.
It's weird, right? It's weird how you need history to understand. I'm actually going to mention the Mongols a lot in my next video. So like weird overlap of video topics here.
Yeah. This is so the last video, my last video, Russia Part 1, I got accused of being very pro-Russia in the video, which I was assuming would happen. And now I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to have 2 videos where I'm going to be accused of being on opposite sides of a war, because we live in a time where nobody can acknowledge that 2 things can be true at the same time.
Nuance? Excuse me? That's illegal on the internet.
Especially at wartime.
Especially at wartime, yeah.
So that's sort of the fun thing. We've got like some questions from people that want to know about things. And I think I've got at least one here that's been waiting for a long time, because it's been waiting for Mia specifically. And it's about,
it's been a while since I've been here.
Yeah, and it's about the most exhausting topic in LGBTQ plus circles, which is that is about pride and the using of kink.
Lovely.
And somebody's wondering if the no pride of kink thing is what sort of normalized the anti-gay groomer discourse that's sort of been bubbling up in recent days. And basically this person. Okay, I'll just read the question in their words, and you can kind of chew on it.
Yeah.
So I've seen some LGBTQ people bring up some, quote, no kink at pride / in public opinions, and I feel annoyed. This is mainly because I know that discourse is a part of what normalized the anti-gay discourse that has flared up recently. However, I'm still a straight guy and largely an outsider to this stuff, so I feel I need to ask, am I right to feel this way, or am I getting angry at the wrong people?
No, you're right. I mean, getting angry at the wrong people was one thing or not, but like the whole kink at pride is bad idea is an idea born out of bullshit. Like there's nothing bad has happened because there has been kink at pride. Like if we're gonna make decisions about things, we need to look at things that actually exist. And the idea that we sort of need to, because like there's an idea that we sort of need to make pride like more family friendly and stuff like that. But I would argue that that's a kind of goes against the point of some aspects of pride, because the point of pride isn't to have like a party, and it's also not a necessarily a space for activism either. It's a space where, in my opinion, there's a space where people. It's a space where like social norms around behavior are stripped away, and we look more at the thing, and we look more sort of like the raw emotions of individuals. Um, and but what I mean by that is instead of labeling things as instead of having like strict labels for anything, or having sort of boundaries regarding appearances or sexuality or gender or stuff like that. The idea is that those things don't matter, and you can do whatever you want and be proud of that, because and still be a proud person, essentially. Um, and if we start to say that, like, you know, kink is bad because reasons, then it's like, because like, the only thing that's like as a barrier for any of here is whether or not it's hurting anyone. Like, you can be yourself, you can do whatever you want, and like everything's fine as long as you don't hurt anyone. Like that's basically the premise of it all. And uh, kink at Pride does not hurt anyone at Pride, except for those who want to be, I guess. But the point is that like there's no. And I guess it sort of leads into the idea that like once we start to say that like some social norms are should be imposed, um, then the idea goes, because then that raises the question of like, what do we do? Where do we draw that line? Because currently the line is when people get hurt, and I think that that's a pretty good line. If people get hurt, we don't do it. If people don't get hurt, it's fine. But once we start being like, once it looks sexual, which is like the main point of Pride, then suddenly half of Pride has to go out, because if you're going to apply that to some group of people, suddenly you have to apply it to other groups of people, and then you start having to ask the question about like what do you define as sexual? What do you define as kink, hypothetically? Because as we saw in the discourse 2 years ago, some people were saying, shit like having a collar around your neck and being fully clothed otherwise is kink, and therefore it is like doing sexual acts in public, which I think is stupid. And I remember saying that I thought it was very stupid to think that. What was the question? And the point that I think was the like, the way that this leads into sort of like gay panic discourse now is because people were saying that like kink at pride is it's going to sort of sexualize children. It's not, though. Like when talking about like sexualizing children or grooming, um, like first of all, that's already a crime, and second of all, we like we can know when it happens. It's not a sort of vague philosophical point of interpretation. Do you know what I mean? Like it. If a child is being groomed, that we have procedures around that. We have laws around that. And if we're going to talk about children being groomed, for example, in schools or at Pride, then I would love to talk about it if it happened, but it's not. I mean, it is happening in schools, but not because but not because gay people exist. Mostly because, teachers take advantage of children, but that has nothing to do with fucking pride. So,
No. At the end of
um,
the day, it's like a lot of the times when even the most compelling argument for like anti-kink of pride, which is usually about some sort of like, hey, if we do this, people are going to get mad at us, usually boils down to like, hey, if you dress like this, then you're never going to win over people who hate you. like
yeah.
there's no, like, you're trying to convince people who are kind of unconvincible at this point. Like, if your belief of people's ability to have civil and human rights is contingent on them behaving properly, then like
And that's
you're,
never gonna work.
yeah, you're not
Yeah.
going to win on that front.
It's like when people complain about like neopronouns, for example. Like they have some people imagine that the reason right wingers hate trans people is because of like these are pronouns or using its pronouns. And it's like no, that's no, because like they hate all trans people, even with quote unquote normal pronouns. They do not give a shit about whether or not like someone uses the right pronouns or not. Like, and I think the best example of this I've ever seen is like Blair, because like Blair White is maybe the most assimilationist trans woman in the world, as far as I know, who is still openly trans. Um, and whenever she does sort of like public appearances or public discussions with right wingers about trans rights, they never accept her. They always call her a man, or they call her by the wrong pronouns, or they say that she's not real in some way. Like, and that's one of the reasons why she doesn't do as much of that anymore, or she does it with like very select people, because it's a really bad look. Because she knows like you can't gain acceptance that way. Um, and like if even Blair White can't win the acceptance, then what hope does the community at large?
Yeah, I don't think about her all that much, but she seems. If I were to hazard a guess, she's an extremely confused person. Um, that's
Yeah.
I feel like we're going, like, in the fullness of time, we're gonna learn that her story is a lot sadder than we think it is. Um,
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. She is also just like a very cruel person. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, little violin for sure.
yeah,
Because yeah, like
like yeah,
selling out your own people for content essentially is that's not a good look.
no, not a good look, sweetie. Blair. She
Uh,
doesn't know who I am. Maybe she does actually. I have no idea.
yeah, I'm lucky that I've like sort of I've had I don't know how this works. Actually, I do know how this works. It's because I'm a straight white guy. But I have a magical ability to kind of avoid like right wing shitlord. Like I somehow am like immune to their attention. Like, they never seem to notice that I exist. So like I
The
never
same
get.
thing is happening to me though. Like I honestly haven't had that much harassment, especially in the last few years. So like,
Yeah. The only person who's ever like directed a harassment campaign towards me was a certain quote unquote left wing Twitch streamer slash YouTuber that
God damn it.
yeah. And that's the only person who's ever like response videoed me. No, there was a one time where I was where these people like they responded to one of my videos in a video that was like 2.5 hours long, and
Oh, I love that.
it was a group of it was like done in like a Discord call, and it was definitely with like three people who could not be older than 16, who had like the like conservative politics I learned from my parents 101 understanding of politics, and it has been viewed 6 times, and I think three of them have been me.
I love that.
It's
I love that though.
I love when I find those.
I love that because that's happened to me too. Actually, that's true. The Discord boys, which is probably a better username than whatever they actually have, um, are always very fun.
I think I even comment on the video where it's just like always great to meet a fan. Um, oh no, wait! I got someone got mad at me. Actual Justice Warrior, who I have no idea who he is, but I guess he's like a semi-large just holdout from like people getting mad at things, reactionaries getting mad at things on YouTube. People, like I guess he's one of the few ones who didn't get banned for being a Nazi or something. And got
One of them who slipped under the radar.
yeah, got really mad that I said that 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 Kyle Rittenhouse shouldn't have killed those people.
Killing people is bad. Hot take.
With at the time, Giant Chad. Yes, did you? Okay, so Thought Slime did make a April Fool's video where he pretended to be a sort of Giga Chad version of himself and like attacked one of my videos, and it was extremely funny. But it has there's another level to it that I don't talk about a whole lot because I don't know how to go with it. So he made that video where it was supposed to be like a very, 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 very joking quote unquote takedown of my video. And somehow my mom found it. And my mom did not understand that it was a joke. And she was very upset that this person was making this video about me.
No.
And like, even though I explained the situation, she was like still like semi mad about it for like a year.
That's fucking hilarious.
Oh man. Yeah, that was a good time. So yeah, so that's the answer to Kink of Pride question.
But like honestly though, that's like that is those are my onions.
Yeah, it does seem it does not seem you need to dig too hard into the people who get mad at Kink of Pride to not just find like what seems to me like homophobia, in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
it's just like
I mean,
in the most literal sense of the term. Like if you are like if you like a lot of it is just like a lot of like anti Kink of Pride stuff is I don't really like when these gay people keep acting so gay at Pride.
yeah, like that's mostly how it goes. Mm-hmm. Like the litmus test that I always go by is like, is someone hurting someone? And if the answer is no, then like who gives a shit? Mm-hmm. Like honestly, who gives a shit? Like that philosophy has like made me conquer so much like the sense of cringe that I have. Because like I can't even be upset at a lot of things anymore, and I also can't even cringe at a lot of things anymore because it's like even if something is sort of like conventionally cringe, if it doesn't hurt anyone, I have like what right do I have to care? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Pride should be like gosh, I'm losing my thing on what those movies are. Those movies where murder is illegal for like a day.
what did you say, honey?
The movie, the like really shitty horror movies where like murder is legal for like one day. The Purge, yeah.
The Purge,
so,
yes.
So Pride is like the Purge, but for cringe. For one day, for like one day a year, cringe is legal. And
yeah.
But on that note, just while we're here, TikTok has at some point decided that I'm a gay man. Because the only ads I get now, like I'm not even subtle about it. It's like the only
explicitly gay.
TikTok gives me ads for PrEP.
Oh yes.
Specifically for the Freddie Foundation, which I guess is an organization that helps people pay for their PrEP. And it's like, okay.
Hey, listen, good for you. Like I don't necessarily think that you're in much need of PrEP, but you know what? Like it's good that they're having ads.
Yeah. I love the idea of PrEP. I also I lived very close to the sort of gay quarter of Toronto, so I've seen plenty of ads for PrEP in my day. but yeah, it's just like I did not know that it would be so confident that TikTok thought I was gay. Then like literally the ad is like a guy who's going like, I'm about to go do some LGBTQ shit, and it's just like, okay.
Amazing. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, because TikTok knows for sure that I am a bisexual trans woman, because that is like half the things I get.
It knows you're a trans woman, so every Paradox game gets advertised to you.
Okay, but okay, listen, that's fucking. You're right though. Like my TikTok timeline, I don't get a lot of ads here, but like my TikTok timeline is legitimately like trans woman, like generic bisexual content, bisexual trans women, Hearts of Iron 4 encirclement montage, Crusader Kings 3 Crusader montage, trans woman. Yeah, it's like that's legit. That's legitimately my thing. I haven't even searched for Paradox things because like why would I watch for Paradox things on TikTok? But that's what I get. They just know that that's what it is.
Yeah, I was drafting a tweet today that was just like, TERF seem to be so preoccupied with like the right gender being in another gender's space, but yet they complain nothing about how many straight white men enter into a trans women's space, which is Paradox games.
It's true though.
Yeah, and or the other one, which is just like that meme of like the two people holding hands, and it's like, what are the one thing that weird like reactionary neo-fascists and trans women have in common is Hearts of Iron 4.
Love Stellaris.
Yeah. It's the one.
Damn.
It's the one place where you find the rare, surprisingly not as rare as you'd think, but like the like neo-Nazi trans woman. You're like, oh, yes, you are a human crafted by Paradox.
Like they are a paradox.
You are a paradox, yeah.
That's why they're called Paradox.
There you go.
Ugh.
Perfect. Encirclement montage shouldn't be allowed at Pride.
Finally, we can agree on something.
Oh man. Okay.
I wonder if Paradox has Paradox ever had a float in Stockholm Pride? Paradox Plaza Stockholm Pride. I'm googling this right now. No. Homophobia.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. They're very nice. They're very kind people, because I know a few of them.
Oh yeah, kettling cops at Pride. That is the only encirclement maneuver you should be allowed to do. Yes. Okay. The next question.
I keep forgetting that kettling is like a real thing.
Yeah. So the next question we got here is: all main Canadian political parties use a ranked ballot to pick their leaders, yet the big two would never advocate for that and be used by voters. Would using that hypocrisy to publicly shame them go anywhere in trying to at least get some reform? Okay, let me see if I can pull this sentence back together. So all main political parties use a ranked ballot to pick their... So yeah, okay, so this is the thing. So Canadian political parties use ranked ballots when they do their leadership races, but then they don't advocate for that when it comes to actual elections. Could point out that hypocrisy actually gets some reform. Well, I mean... Politicians are, no offense, politicians are hypocrisy made manifest.
Yes.
So they wouldn't give a shit because Mia aside, every politician who's not Mia doesn't genuinely believe anything they're advocating for because most of them are just addicted to power. And will say and advocate for pretty much anything that either gets them more money or gets them a higher position in the hierarchy of the government system. And they get kind of addicted to that system.
You don't have to exclude me from that. Like I'm sure that I'm part of that too.
Oh.
I'm not better. I'm okay, but I like power.
I like power. It's fine. So like there's like a lot. So like. In a lot of ways, like politicians don't care about being like there are more cases than just this that show that almost every politician does not give a shit about being like ideologically or being consistent in any fashion.
Yeah.
And also, very often, the Canadian politicians, the argument they make in this situation is like, we would love to do a ranked choice ballot, but the people, when we describe it in the most uncharitable terms we possibly can, they're the ones who don't like it. Like literally, the government we have now got elected in 2015 on saying that they were going to do a ranked choice ballot. And what they did is what they always do, which is that, or what they always do when a party doesn't want to do something but wants to be seen wanting to do something, is that they appointed somebody in charge who had virtually no experience in the topic and basically get them to do almost nothing and then come to the conclusion that it can't be done.
It's like weaponized incompetence. Yeah.
What I don't understand is that the big two political parties only stand to gain from ranked choice ballot because ranked choice ballot kind of sucks, and it would result in ranked choice ballot kind of ends up like first past the post, where the same two political parties basically end up in charge.
Pretty much. Like this is why, like, you know, ranked voting is great when you have to elect an individual, which you have to do in some cases. But like y'all again, like y'all need proportional representation.
I know, and there's like, what's it called? Like the NDP in Canada our Social Democratic Party does push for proportional representation. Also pushes for abolishing the Senate, which is base as hell.
Yes.
Because like what's it called? Like it felt like in 2015 that election we felt like we were debating like actual things, because like actual different visions for the future of the country, because like they were having like the election issues were like, how should we run elections? Should we have a Senate? Like it was like, it felt like we were like on a real like path towards like something big changing. Because like, you know, the liberals were like, we should have a Senate, but no senators should be part of political parties. And then they kicked all of the liberal senators out of caucus. And the conservatives were like, we should have a Senate, but it should be elected. And then the NDP were like, no Senate, please. And then like elections, they're like proportional representation versus first past the post versus ranked choice ballot. Like I was like, oh, like this feels almost like a real election that could actually affect things. But then, you know, the liberals just, you know, Justin Trudeau did Justin stuff.
And lied.
Yeah.
And doesn't do his electoral promises.
2015 was another case where a whole new generation of Canadians learned that the Liberal Party will literally say anything that they are the masters of saying literally anything and then just doing whatever they want. And they have never, ever, ever, ever stuck to their word on anything ever. Unfortunately, you need to reteach that every so often. Just like how in 2008, I hope a whole generation of Americans learned that, oh, the Democratic Party isn't here to help. Okay. All right, next question.
Yeah.
Next question we got here is from Orange Man. Can we finally end the making of new episodes for The Simpsons? Sure.
When the Simpsons stop making episodes, the simulation will be over and we will all be turned off.
Yeah, maybe that's what they learned, is that like what's it called? The ancestor simulation is only being kept on because the like 12-dimensional hyperspecies that is programming us really likes The Simpsons, and like they just keep us online so that they can get more Simpsons episodes. And as soon as it stops, there's going to be no reason to keep us on, and they'll just turn it off.
Exactly.
But
it's like that. It's like or is that what you said? Like the miniverse?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah.
So, but my theory is actually, my guess is that The Simpsons will go probably until one of the major voice actors either dies or retires. Like one of those ones that does like half of the voices. Like if Dan Castellaneta or whatever dies or retires, I think it's pretty much done at that point. Or you know, I think that there are some that they might even replace. Like I bet that they would even controversially replace like Judy Kavner, who plays Marge, but doesn't really do plays Marge and like her sisters, and that's really like it. But
Yeah.
there's like if one of like the three guys who does like 90% of the voices.
Yeah, then the show's over.
Yeah, like they
And
almost
they're just gonna keep going until then.
because one of them almost walked away due to contract negotiation problems, and it almost killed The Simpsons. But my guess is that that's going to be the end of the show. But I also think that now that it's on Disney Plus and now that it's in the Disney atmosphere, that there's going to be some Simpsons spinoffs not too far from now.
You're right, aren't you?
They're going to make some like they're going to make some Simpsons spinoff shows. I think they've already kind of hinted at it, but I do love that every so often Disney has to be paying for this. I get an article that's like, "Wow, The Simpsons made a good episode this season," and I'm like, "Yeah, right. I'm not buying that. What do you think I am? I think I was born yesterday."
They've been going for 34 seasons.
The Simpsons is like, I think I mentioned this on this stream before. When The Simpsons started, I was Maggie's age, and I am now almost Homer's age.
When The Simpsons started, I was not born.
Yes, because you are Babby.
I am Babby, and now I am. How old is Homer supposed to be?
He's supposed to be like 38. I want to say
39. Holy shit!
39. So yeah, in 6 years I'll be Homer's age.
But he does age apparently because his age is inconsistent. So he's 34 in early episodes, and he's 40 in the more later episodes. So
cool. So that means that he is either
depends a little bit.
So that means next year I would be at the minimum at the MHA, the minimum Homer age. But like The Simpsons premiered as a Christmas special in 1989. That was when I was 13 months old. So exactly Maggie's age, right?
Yeah.
And then I am now 30. I'm going to be 34 next month. It's true. It's perfect. I am The Simpsons. I have been every Simpson age.
How many episodes has Family Guy done?
How many episodes? What?
Family Guy.
Family Guy? Ooh.
Because Family Guy has 21 seasons.
Yes, because like they have a weird thing because they had 3 seasons between 1999 and 2001, and then they got canceled, and then it came back in 2006, and it's been running since.
Yeah.
Because I remembered that like I got like what's it called? My like Family Guy honeymoon period was when we were in high school. And Family Guy was this thing that was sort of like a hidden gem because it ran for a few seasons in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then kind of got buried and everyone forgot about it. And so we were less like quoting those 3 seasons for all of high school. And then they made more of it. And I was like, oh, I remember being excited for that and then being like, oh, then I turned into a grown up and realized that it's an extremely mean spirited show. And then I stopped watching it.
Yeah.
I think the next longest running animated sitcom is South Park. I think South Park beats has what's it called? Is close on The Simpsons. I think it's only like about 8 or 9 years older or younger.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently the reason for those, I don't know about the South Park thing, but the reason why The Simpsons has been on for so long is because apparently Fox still runs very heavily through nepotism, and if you have a good relationship with Fox executives, like if they like you, then your show can be forgiven poor reception for a long time and kind of get by. Like they're very forgiving if they really like the showrunner, and Matt Groening and Seth MacFarlane are very well liked by the higher ups at Fox, and so basically anything that they want will go through.
Yeah, they can just keep going forever.
Yeah,
no problem. Ratings be damned.
Yeah, which I mean, like, because that's how American Dad is still on the air somehow.
What? No, who the fuck watches American Dad?
I don't know.
It's Still going. You're holy shit.
But I will say this this nepotistic atmosphere did give us the Orville, which is a legitimately great show. So the small victories.
19 seasons of American Dad. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like legitimately shocked by this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like with new episodes of The Simpsons. Like I know there are people watching it. I don't know who they are. I don't know what their deal is.
I feel like my parents occasionally watch The Simpsons when it like comes up on TV. But you know, like no one, I don't think I know anyone who like dedicatedly decides like it comes home from work, makes a cup of tea, and decides like, you know what, let's watch The Simpsons.
It's Sunday night. Actually, I will still, if I need something brainless, I have the first 9 seasons downloaded, and I will watch those on shuffle.
Very good.
There was a
I will admit that I sometimes have a guilty pleasure. Like when I'm really sick and I have no energy, I will sometimes put on Family Guy
Family
just
Guy.
to
Family
just
Guy.
to burn the last remnants of my brain out that survived the fever.
It can be. It is a show that surprisingly works when you're really high. But
But
basically,
that's what it made for. You can't have an active brain and watch it because then it's just stupid and bad.
yeah. Is yeah, because you're like this.
That's why I liked it as a that's why I liked it as a teenager.
It kind of reminds me of this conversation that I had at we had like kind of like a YouTuber get together in Toronto once. This wasn't like sometimes we did like official meetups where we all got together and met with people. This was sort of like a private one where it was like me and Kelly was with me, but also like Thought Slime and Jose and We're in Hell and Chill Goblin and Mexi we were like, and all the partners and everything like that were all there hanging out, kind of just hanging out at an apartment. And we went down this rabbit hole where we were like trying to the conversation of what is our problematic fave started to come up. And I've had this conversation a couple times because there's a really relatable conversation in one episode of Family Guy that I always think about, which is about when they're talking about Barry Manilow. And like they start off by Barry Manilow is a singer. He's the guy who sang the Copacabana song. But
Oh yeah.
but there's a conversation on Family Guy that is so perfect where it's like they're all talking like, "Oh, I hate Barry Manilow. He sucks." And you're like, "Yeah. Well, that one song's okay. Yeah, that's true. Actually, that whole album's actually decent. Yeah." And then but 5 minutes later, you're like, "We love Barry Manilow so much." So anyways, at this event, at this sort of hangout, we sort of had that exact line of things when we were talking about Lin-Manuel Miranda. We were like, yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda sucks. Like, Hamilton's bad. Songs are pretty catchy though. Yeah, it's true. And then all of a sudden and Moana was pretty sweet. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we're like, God damn it, this guy. Like, we hate how good he is at writing songs.
Yeah.
When I found out that this is where I'm like, okay, he gets there's a little bit of respect here for the artistic chops of Lin-Manuel Miranda. There's a song in Moana that he wrote that is in the key of E major, which notably doesn't have specifically like a certain note C, like a flat or like a normal C, and in that song, which is in this sort of key, this note, the C note that does not show up in the major, or does not show up in it, is always sort of hit on these very specific like high points in the song. And it's literally a song where she is singing about like trying to find this thing inside her, like trying to like achieve this metaphorical I'm gonna find out who we are and what we are about, and it's like about her seeking around, and then every time she hits this note, and it's like, God damn it, that's some next level shit. Yeah, there you go. He's an excellent songwriter, but he can be very establishment liberal cringe. This is true.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what's the next question we got? Oh, perfect. Now you can see how well your improv talking points can work. Mia, what advice
Right.
would you give to young people who want to get involved in politics?
Don't. No, you should. The advice I would give is that politics is a lot easier than it seems. It's all obscured in a lot of legalese to make it deliberately difficult to understand, but also really clear in legal matters, which is really important in politics. Um, so it looks daunting, it looks smart, but it is neither one of those things. And it's also run by old people who have who do it less for like a fervent sense of politics and more for it's something to do. Um, and those are the people who are running, your school boards, your municipal councils, and in many parts, your government. National politics, at least in Europe, but in many places of the world, um, have a disproportionately young membership of politicians. That is despite them being old. And that's because municipal and regional elections are all run by completely ancient people. And they're great people. And now I work with them, and they're actually kind and sweet people. But if you are a young person and you want to get into politics, it's a lot easier than you'd think. All you need is like ambition and drive, and you're already like ahead of 99% of all politicians.
It does seem like a lot of politics is just being willing to go to the 7 p.m. on a Tuesday night meeting.
Yep. Oh yeah, like showing up is like 90% of the work. Like that's legitimately it. Like half of the campaigning that I did during the election was just to be on a square. Sometimes I didn't speak to anyone. Sometimes you're just there, like with the like holding the flyers, and it's really boring. But it's one of those things where like people see that you're out, they see the party that they're out, they might look up the party at home, maybe they feel like a bit more safe knowing that like a party is in their community, and suddenly you've done a politic.
Yeah.
Oh, and also every fucking political party in the world also has something called a political secretary, and they are the person who makes sure that the politicians sound smart. You don't have to do that. This last week, I was going through the notes for the municipal council meeting that I actually had today, and I was looking through like old motions that like parties had submitted to be like, okay, how do you submit a motion? How smart does it have to be? Because when you look at it, sort of like in the time plan, it looks very official. It looks very smart. It looks very like thought out. And then you look at the original submission, and it's like, I think brave people should have a medal for being brave once a year. And that's a policy suggestion that you vote on and you negotiate.
Yeah.
Like it's so much easier than you think it is, but you only need to like put the time in to actually do it.
You
That's
have
the
to
hard
navigate weird egos and very stupid people.
Oh my God, yes. And people who like love talking.
I had a small foray into politics in that I was a union steward for a few years. And I remembered that we had a extremely long conversation because they were trying to change the language of our outputs to instead of referring to our membership as brothers and sisters, to refer to them as siblings. And then the topic got raised about changing it to comrades. And it's just like, oh God, okay, here we go.
Yeah. I would say that like if you need a skill to sort of like refine to get into politics, it's patience. And everything else is secondary.
Yeah. If I remember correctly too, an opportunity to look into is, at least this is what my friend told me, and I imagine this is sort of the track that you might have played with, is that especially in Scandinavia, there, and specifically the left parties in Scandinavia, because he was talking about the Norwegian left party, that they usually have a track where they will intentionally put young people on their list to sort of, especially in like kind of like local politics, to get them into the system and get them that experience to move themselves up in the ladder and everything like that. I imagine that's how that's like that's what you're doing right now.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm chewing off more than they set me up for. Because usually you don't get picked up as group leader the first time you're elected.
You've got activist
That's like
experience though, so
yeah, that's how I got in. But the but yeah, like there's a track for that. So like
it's not abnormal in Scandinavia to have like 19-year-old politicians sometimes.
yeah.
Sometimes.
And like, something that Wally says also is very important. That like this is advice about electoral politics in representative democracies, which is very different from first past the post countries. In first past the post countries, I would say that you should probably find a politician that you kind of agree with, but who's sort of part of mainstream politics. Join their campaign in some way, and learn by doing. Do you know what I mean? Like even if you don't fully agree with them, like if they're part of the mainstream, you learn the procedures that you need to do, and then you can like apply that to.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a bit of that. Like local riding associations can be very cliquey. And if you live, depending upon the riding you live in, different riding associations can be very competitive to become a candidate. It can be very not competitive. Like I know I lived in Toronto Center, which was it is the smallest geographically riding in the country because it's the most densely populated part of the entire country. Now it was an extremely competitive riding association where they were very cliquey, very small, but the same party here in London was like, it's very chill. It's very relaxed. And I will say that even getting involved in the kind of things you said, I cannot count the amount of times where I have gone out to do volunteer work for a bland social democratic center left political party, and literally everybody who I'm hitting the trail with are like, yeah, I'm like a Marxist Leninist, but this is the best we can do. And I'm like, yeah. And like almost everybody is that.
Yeah.
That's sort of the
Like
thing.
yeah, especially like, and I feel like that's more common in like your political systems because of the limitations there.
Yeah, because there's just no socialist party to join.
Yeah.
But different. I mean, like I think that like I don't know how it works in proportional representation. How big? Like, because I imagine that getting on the list means that like the party associations like it's going to be slightly bigger because like riding associations aren't much of a thing. So yeah, I guess that's different in that case. What you're looking for is the riding association if you're interested in local stuff, and especially if you're not during an election year, because you build cred with the New Democrats in their like non-election years, and then when it comes to actual election time, then you're one of the people who shows an interest in doing stuff, and then sometimes you just have to be like the person who says, "I'll do it."
That's it. That's so much. That's like half the work.
Yeah, I was involved with the Green Party when I was in high school, and when they were choosing their candidate for the riding, it was like they were like literally having a meeting and was like, "So who wants to do it this time?" And one person was like, "I guess I'll do it," and they're like, "Okay." Then that's who got on the ballot.
Yeah, and yeah, because like if you're that person enough times, suddenly you're the most experienced person to like run for the office.
Yeah, I will say if you, it might be very different if you're involved in I imagine that doesn't count with anybody who listens to us, but if you're involved with one of the mainstream political parties, because nobody gets involved with those who aren't just soulless creatures made entirely out of ambition. I'm talking more about like I don't even know what like the Social Democrats, right, or whatever. Like,
yeah,
if you're getting
yeah, for sure.
Like what's it called? Like when I went to scrutinize the vote for the federal election in 2021, like I was there as a representative for the New Democrats, and then the representative for like the liberals and the conservatives. The liberals candidate was like this young woman who showed up in like a business suit, ready to girl boss her way to power. And the conservative was like this 58-year-old man who I think was taking calls because he like owned some sort of small business. And so it's like, yeah, the culture's completely different in those places where they're just like, it's just people who their only belief is, hey, me.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll happen a lot in like mainstream parties.
Yeah. But we're leftists, and we end up in left-wing parties where it's made up entirely of people who are college age and people who are retirement age, and nobody in between.
Yep. Yeah, and the party splits. No, if you are two people in the party, 2 months later, you're gonna have one people in the party, or like there's gonna be two factions within the party. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Like if you can be 1,000 people, you will have two camps. If you can be two people, and you will end up in two camps. Like it's a universal fact of all left parties.
Yep. They'll always find something. That's why, like, even in this town that has 300,000 people in it, there are two anarchist groups, and they don't like each other.
Has to happen. It's a law. It's a universal law of physics.
I don't know why. This is why we always lose. And that and not having money and guns. Anyways, next one we got here is, why have some leftists, not the Nazballs, given up on supporting Ukraine? Despite all Russia has done and made its intentions, I've seen some leftists suggesting that Ukraine just make a peace deal as quickly as possible to stop the war.
Might depend on where you see them. Because I feel like America has a very different sort of like weird positioning on this. Here, at least, at least in the circles that I run in, everyone in the left is sort of like very much like pro Ukraine, give Ukraine more gun. That is like the universal opinion here.
Like I've got a anti-war position on it, but I know that I'm in the extreme minority. Like I live in a kind of like left-leaning community, and there's Ukrainian flags everywhere. So like, yeah, I don't see this as a thing unless this is, in many ways, it is purely an internet phenomenon.
Yeah.
But
like there are definitely some people on the internet that are just like, just make peace and it'll be fine. And like to them, I feel like because like you can justify sort of like making peace from a left-wing perspective, but it's very difficult to justify like to be able to say the practicalities of it from a left-wing perspective, to be like, yeah, they should just give off like huge areas of the country to Russia, because because none of these factions are like particularly left-wing, or like they're not particularly
no, in fact, actually,
ideologically pure in any sense.
Yeah, both of these things have both sides of this war have troublingly large contingencies of radical far-right groups in them. So
yeah. So like I would say that probably the easiest position to take, which is like the position that I take, and I think a lot of people take, like Adelaide says, that like opposing like U.S. intervention, for example, it's like, yeah, like no doubt, like if the U.S. gets involved in any fucking way, that the world is going to die. And I would say the same thing is probably true for basically any other foreign intervention as well.
Yeah. My whole thing, and it'll be elaborated on in a future video that comes out this week, but my whole take that will probably get me in the most trouble is that maybe that I have concerns about the rampant jingoism in the West, and that the two things that I have concerns about are, one, that there's a weird amount of people who are trying to normalize and get us comfortable with the idea of nuclear weapons exchanges, which I feel like
Yeah,
now we're like, it's been just long enough since the end of the Cold War that nobody has appreciation for how apocalyptic a nuclear exchange would be. To the point where like now you've got like liberals writing articles about like a small nuclear war would be okay. The other point is that the comparison that I have been making is I have a lot of feelings that it hits a lot on the Russian Afghanistan war, and that in many ways we are funneling a lot of weapons and money to people without enough guarantees, so that we don't. Basically, we're giving a lot of money and weapons to people who have extremely troubling politics, and we're not going to put a lot of thought into what happens to all of that when the war is over. And if we find out that there is a like neo-fascist, like far-right militia in Ukraine that all of a sudden is like flooded with money and weapons and legitimacy because of the war, and then we find out that they then do some sort of like terrorist attack on people in like 20 years, like I don't know, I feel like we're just like in some ways we're creating Al-Qaeda all over again.
It's Al-Qaeda, but in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
This is like one of those like sentences you could have said both now and in the 1990s.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, with Kosovo and stuff. So that's sort of the part that I'm at, and in many ways, yeah, it's like not so like I'm not like taking Russia's side in the war, but any Western intervention is going to make the situation worse, not better.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then I would say that if that was the case, then Ukraine doesn't have much of a chance. But I don't know. They seem to be pulling some goddamn miracles in the last few days, anyway. So
yeah, they're really writing the book on like 21st century like defensive warfare.
yes,
Did you see the shit about like Russia maybe wanting to do another push on Kiev?
no,
Which is like, you're like, if that happens, like Putin is stupider than anyone ever thought.
yeah. In Hoi 4, we just saw that they changed their mobilization policy, which is never a good sign.
Yeah.
But
You're
like
already losing production efficiency. What are you doing?
They're doing some really weird stuff. Like, but yeah, I think that you are right that there's like the book on warfare is being completely changed, because this is like the first war that wasn't just a Western superpower bullying a small country that barely has any money, which has basically been the entirety of warfare for the last like 20 years. So,
because this is like one of those scenarios that like weapons manufacturers in the U.S. have like fantasized about since the Cold War, where they get to try all new Western sort of like military developments against like somewhat modern like Russian military like innovations.
yes.
So it's like two fairly modern powers that are just duking it out, which is weird.
Yeah, some stuff that I've been catching up on for this. I did an episode of It's Probably Not Aliens that has not come out yet, on unidentified aerial phenomenon, and that a whole lot of them are being seen in Ukraine. Like that, like
wonder why.
Like drone spies have like spy drones have become a huge thing. I just saw today news that Russia's now made like kamikaze drone attacks, where they are like just making drones that are just missiles that fly themselves into things, and it's like, oh yeah, so the full horrors of drone warfare are really coming to a head. Everything that we said, like everything that we took that Sim City mad guy face and we're like, do not do drone warfare, you will regret this, like, is now happening.
Yeah. It's kind of fucked up, actually, how we're living in. Every time drones are brought up, I mention this because, like, we're living in a science fiction video game that was made in 2008. Because, like drones play a significant part of like the day-to-day activities of warfare now. Just drones.
Yeah, they did buy
which
those
is
drones
weird.
from Iran. That is true. Yeah. But like the UAP stuff sort of implies that Russia has probably been testing drone electronic warfare and stuff for decades. And so yeah, there's like there's a lot of weird stuff coming out. The thing that scares me the most, and I think is like the thing that I really hate that we are normalizing, why we're having this normalizing conversation, and the discussions where it's like, hey, this war should end because if it keeps going long enough, we're going to start World War III, and then people are like, oh, you think that what's it called? You think that the survival of the species is more important than Putin, like Putin not knowing that he can't push people around? Like, it's like, I don't want the species to go extinct. Oh, so you just want Putin to just be able to do whatever he wants. And it's like, I hate this universe. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
But I know that for the last 20 years, Russia's military technology has been on the miniaturization of nuclear warheads, and specifically making tactical nukes, which are nuclear weapons that are just small enough that they're not the sort of planet crackers that they built during the Cold War. Because I don't know why, but Russia during the Cold War, their nuclear policy was big Emperor Bama, big Tsar Bama, just big, more.
If you even fucking look at me weird, I will blow up the entire fucking planet twice.
The Soviet policy towards nuclear war was, don't fuck with me, I'm crazy. Because they had like the dead man switch, which was that they had their nukes all wired up so that if the Kremlin didn't send all of the nuclear silos a signal like every 20 minutes, then they would go off. So that even if Moscow was destroyed, the nukes would fly. But furthermore, they were always investing in building these just huge, completely impractical monstrosities, like the Tsar Bomba, which was a nuclear warhead that was so powerful that it sent shockwaves around the Earth 7 times when it was tested in like Siberia. So yeah, but then they've been trying to push for these smaller ones that are just small enough that they might not lead to like everybody's apocalypse buttons going off. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't.
Although to be fair, like if we're gonna judge it by how all other like Russian military equipment is doing, like I fully imagine like half the missile silos are just like welded shut and the parts have been stripped away.
Mm-hmm. Hello, streaming the video games. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Yeah, so that's sort of in my mind, it's just like I don't. In my mind, my theory is that in many ways, Russia kind of has the world over a barrel, and they know it, and there's not really a good way out of this situation that any country can really do. Like I can't think of any way to help the situation that actually would help. That is my take. There you go. Destroy me, friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question I got here is, how do bad laws get repealed?
They don't.
There you go. I find that there's more bad laws that don't get repealed. We just collectively decide to stop enforcing them.
Yes, that legitimately that is how it's done.
Like I always think about how
yeah.
Like I know that like there was like a thing where like edgy atheists in 2008 were like, look at all these Middle Eastern countries that have the death penalty for apostasy, and then it's like basically like every Muslim majority country, and it's just like, yeah, and then you like look into it and it's like, yeah, Morocco technically has the death penalty for apostasy. It was a law put in place by the fucking like Sultan in 1833, and they haven't executed somebody for it since like 1834. like stuff like that.
Yeah. But that's legitimately how it's done. Like a lot of like decriminalization measures, for example, are just like, let's just not arrest people anymore. Like even talking about like full decriminalization of like all narcotics in like Portugal, for example, drugs are still illegal in Portugal. Like they're illegal, but like it's decriminalized. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
just don't do anything about it. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have a truckload full of cocaine, someone's gonna do something about it. But like this is mostly how it's done. That's why there's been like a mythical law here too, where like in Denmark, if a Swede walks over the ice in the winter over to Denmark, they're legally allowed to club them to death with like wooden sticks or something.
Makes sense to me.
Makes perfect sense. I agree. We should reinstate it. But like like every country has laws like this that are like old and archaic, and that's because like legislation are less based on a sort of like a list of like here are the rules of the country, and more about like these are the things that commonly happen, and these are the ways we recently have dealt with them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so like common crimes happen all the time, but and then they look at sort of like what has been the average sentencing for the last couple of years, and then they do that, and then like a law change comes in, and then like okay, or like a policy change comes in, and it's like okay, we should have lesser crimes for this crime, lesser punishments for this crime, and then that changes, and then it changes, but the law is still there. Sweden probably has some archaic ass laws as well.
Yeah, and I mean, like this happened, and unfortunately, there is a downside to this. Like, for example, in the United States, like you have several states that you would probably think are like super progressive states that still have the death penalty. Like, the good example would be, I think, like Oregon still has the death penalty, but they haven't executed anybody since like the 1800s. But the thing, and this is one of the most mind-blowing history facts that I like learned, that the U.S. at a certain point kind of just stopped doing the death penalty for decades. Like there was like a point in America where like they weren't executing anybody because they just would never give the death penalty. And then in the 70s, I think there was like a serial killer or something that they gave the death penalty to, and sort of politicians jumped on it and they brought it back. And like the entire like America executes so many goddamn people, and it all stems from like this resurgence that happened like not long ago. Also, a weird fact about all this. Do you know that France's last execution was still a guillotine?
Yeah.
It happened in like the 20s, I think.
It didn't happen in like the 50s.
Oh, it might have been the 50s. Yeah.
I think the last public execution was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 1977.
1977. It was a guillotine.
Yeah. Guillotined.
Yeah.
Which, like, holy shit.
Yeah, I think Canada, our last execution was in like the late 60s, and we hanged them. I was like,
Oh,
wait,
like,
what
yeah.
the fuck?
What the fuck? Well, I mean, if you're gonna kill someone, like, there's no good way to do it. Like,
Yeah.
chemical injection is like also like very brutal and very painful. Maybe the guillotine is actually the optimal way to execute a person.
I mean,
It's
it is
quick.
if you do it right.
Yeah.
I think the actual, not that I've thought about this, but there is sort of the technology that's been used for people for euthanasia, like where you just put them in a room of nitrogen gas and they just fall asleep and don't wake up. But
Yeah. Speaking of weird laws and archaic laws that are still in the books, there's a law in Sweden that I can't imagine is still enforced about how you have to release swine into a birch forest. So you're only allowed to release your swine into a birch forest if you can release as many as you can raise yourself again. And you can only release as many, and you can also only release as many swine as the owner of the land has swine as well.
yep.
So if the owner of the land doesn't have any swine, you can't release more swine. But if the owner of the land has 50 swine, you can at least release up to 50 swine as well. I don't know how this makes sense. Sure.
Thank you, by the way, 255 for £2 British. 255 wants to know, when did you start learning English? The UK starts French at 10. If I remember, you guys start like kindergarten, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, Scandinavians, you start really
like,
early.
I guess like 7 years old, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I have been told, I've never been to Scandinavia, but I've been told that you can more or less get by with English when you're there.
In Sweden?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's flawless. Like it's basically no language barrier at all.
Yeah.
Like old people will have forgotten it. It's not that they never learned it. It's just that like they forget it because they don't speak it. But everyone here freaking speaks English. Like it's just because like very few people here speak German or French. So if you're gonna talk to anyone outside of Sweden, you need a mutual language, and that mutual language is English, unfortunately.
I think that's true in a lot of European countries. The only one is not as France because they're dicks about it. But
Yeah, because they refuse.
yeah, I also think
Germany's getting better at it, I think.
yeah, I think you can almost get by with English in Germany,
Yeah.
almost.
When I was a kid, that was not the case.
But I think Spain and Italy it's still difficult too. I
Yeah.
think that there's still like some, but yeah, France don't even. What's it called? They yeah, but that is mostly because of I don't know. It's just the history.
History's weird. Grudges.
Yeah, I love how Europe has a staggeringly impressive amount of having huge grudges against incredibly close people. Like the amount that Europeans have been able to make a group and hate another group that is extremely similar is actually like impressive. The fact
It's
that
because we
like
have some. Yeah, it's all islands and peninsulas. It's very
yeah,
easy to have distinct cultures when it's all islands and peninsulas.
yeah, like the fact that like Belgium has three distinct ethnic groups that all hate each other is just I cannot believe it.
Like you can bike through the like historical territories of these three ethnic groups in like a day.
Yeah, like this is called. It's like the size of like Belgium's tiny.
So tiny.
It's
But like you gotta also remember that like America,
it's absurdly
like
huge. Yeah,
it's absurdly huge, and also the majority of people who live there have all been filtered through like three cities basically, or like three regional areas, and that is Mexico City, New York, and Boston.
yeah,
Some in Louisiana, and like those are the cultural groups that like exist mostly. And if you go forward like another 2,000 years, you're gonna have people who are more local in that sense. Assuming of course that the internet dies, which it absolutely will once the nuclear war happens. So like once you're back in the Middle Ages, just like us, then you'll start developing like London culture compared to Ottawa culture, and then it's all over.
what I'm actually surprised by though is that there isn't as much of that in Germany, where like which you'd think, given like Germany's history, that they would have a lot more of like this street hates that street because like they spent literally 30 years just like in the worst war that like ever happened to them, killing each other like crazy. But I maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe they do still have their street to street hatred because the prince that you lived under was a Catholic, while the prince that I lived under 300 years ago was Lutheran or something.
Maybe. I mean, there's still like antagonisms between like the Swedes and the Goths, not because of any sort of like old timey like guff, but just like because that's just how it is. Because sometimes the cultural like differences, um, the cultural differences barely exist, but they exist enough so that there is a distinction, and that's all you need. The fact that there is a distinction, that's all you need for a historical rivalry to keep going.
Yeah, and I mean, how much of
That-
this is just sports?
oh yeah, I mean that's where we get it now. That's why we get an outlet.
FIFA was made to stop a third world war.
You know what? Is it like that old saying that like democracies don't start wars with each other? What if the real fact is countries with like a healthy sports sector, specifically soccer, don't start wars with other nations that also have like healthy soccer tournaments.
It's true. You never seen Germany and Brazil go to war, now have you?
Like, so like all we need is I can't say this like so many wars during like the early 2000s could have been fixed if only Iraq and the US had had playoffs in soccer.
I mean, there's kind of like a trope in a lot
because
of
they haven't. That antagonisms build up.
yeah. There's a trope in a lot of games where like the idea is like we replaced war with this thing. So if only we had like what's the big one I think is like League of Legends. What if we had Summoner's Rift and America just had one side and Iraq had the other and they had to just defeat the other side's nexus and or just now it's an esport, so why not just have League of Legends do it? So you just have an American and Iraqi team play each other in League of Legends, and whoever wins gets
I'm
to
looking
have
for
oil. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I welcome our new overlords, our new South Korean overlords.
Oh yeah, that would result in South Korea owning the planet.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
let us keep the gay marriage and the trans rights, and then it's fine. Maybe a bit less racist.
Maybe.
Damn, South Korea sucks. Actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, they also have like their last president is like currently in prison for being like blatantly corrupt.
Like a cult leader member or something.
Yeah, South Korea gets a lot of a pass for being next to its unruly neighbor, but they have South Korea's got a lot of problems.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Canada, where it just looks good in comparison because its neighbor is just the wacky person with a gun. Or the great,
yeah.
So. Yeah.
But to be fair, that's also all of Europe. In comparison to our wacky next door neighbor, Russia.
Yeah, I mean, all of Europe does that to, but even before sort of the war, Europe just did that for the UK, where it's just like, things are bad in Europe, but at least we're not Britain.
At least we're not the fucking British. We still have that though.
Yeah,
cost of living is going up. At least we're not the fucking British.
Yeah, I do. What's it called? I imagine that ever since Brexit. Anglophobia has been on the rise, especially because like they basically destabilized the entire continent, and then the reward they got for that is now like half their country is going to freeze to death this winter. So, do you hear that? Like, there's already talks that knives are going to be out for Liz Truss like in the next couple weeks.
Oh, she's out, like for sure.
Yeah.
She came in, she killed the Queen, she killed the Pound, she's killing the Conservative Party, and now she's gonna leave. Like,
greatest Prime Minister in history. Greatest Prime Minister in British history.
Best one.
What's it called? She got in, did her 3 policy positions, and then done.
Yeah. Good job, Agent Truss. Like, deep cover agent working for the IRA.
But yeah,
she did it great.
But like every day when I read the news about what's going on in the UK, it's like, I always think of Abigail's line, and it's like, great, another opportunity for the UK to get even more normal. Like they're destroying paintings now. It's like it's
a whole thing. I saw some people, I saw some British news shows put up a cabbage in their studio and having like a timer being like, who will last the longest, the cabbage or Liz Truss?
Would she actually win like shortest reigning prime minister in British history?
Ooh, good question. I wonder who that is. Shortest reigning prime minister in UK.
And then who?
Oh yeah, George Canning in 1827 lasted 119 days.
So she could still win this.
Yeah, Truss has a good chance. When did Truss enter office? Like not long ago, like half
a month
an hour,
ago.
right?
Like it was like a week before the Queen died.
Assumed office September 6th, so it's like a month and a half.
Because like she like the prime minister meets with the Queen on a regular basis, and she only got to meet the Queen once when she first became prime minister, and she was dead by the next week.
Yeah. If yeah, like even if she doesn't, even if she managed to last like another month, and then resigns, she's still the shortest reigning prime minister in the history of the UK.
And what's very funny about that is that the next leadership race it's going to get increasingly dumb because now every Tory politician knows that no good can come of being the leader of the Conservative Party at this point. So it's like
No.
if you want to be prime minister just because you want to say that you've been prime minister, this is the perfect time because nobody wants it and you won't have to do any work because you'll be prime minister for like a week tops. So it's like that's why Liz Truss got in because they only had 2 people running and both of them were like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah. Could I run for prime minister?
Yeah,
No one wants the job, right? If I join the Conservative Party, can I put my name forward to be?
Yeah. If I ask King Charles very nicely, I am technically one of his subjects. So King Charles III, because you're actually doing that, because you don't understand that name is cursed. You're going to, could you make me? I think there is a way to get British citizenship if you're a Commonwealth citizen, but I don't exactly know how it works. But then all I need to do is become a British citizen. Easy. Join the Conservative Party, and then just show up, and then just, I don't know, just say the most racist thing that I can say at every debate, and then win. I mean, if Liz Truss can do it, anyone can.
Literally.
Pork markets. Yeah.
I was about to say. Pork markets. We're going to expand new pork markets.
I would run.
What?
What's it called? I would take the job. I'd be like, Brexit means Brexit. We're gonna ride through this together. Something about Muslims and Polish people. Then I would win, and then I'd be like, all right, first things first. I'm going to make the BBC give me 10 minutes of time, and I will just make a personal apology to Angela Merkel, and then I will just say. Then I will literally, as Prime Minister, just get on my knees and be like, we would like to come back, please. Please.
Yeah. I have one position. Please let us back.
I'm going to be Prime Minister for like 8 more hours tops, please. This is very urgent. And then I'll be like, Nicola Sturgeon, you're free to go.
I feel like we're going to have some sort of alternate history plot points happening very soon because the Conservative Party is like polling at like what 8%.
Yeah, oh man,
something like that. Like
get ready for Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Exciting times. Okay, I would just do what I did when I played as the UK. The one time that I played Victoria 2 with this, which is just I'm the UK. I'm just gonna go to. I'm gonna go to the Prime Minister's desk and open up the window that says subjects and just be like release. So yeah, everyone can go. You're all free to go.
Get them all out of there.
Keir Starmer would be is going to be like the most like boring prime minister, right?
I know.
He's just Tony Blair too, right?
Something like that. 20% polling. Yeah, but the Labour has like a 30-point lead at this point, like highest that they had in like years.
All right. Controversial take. Drafting now this you have to hear me out on this one because I feel like it work. If we can make anybody prime minister of the UK right now through the fact that the Conservative Party is like functionally a corpse running government, what if Jeremy Corbyn got to be the leader of the Conservative Party and just ran against Keir Starmer?
Listen, it can't get any worse.
Yeah, maybe Jeremy Corbyn might be the guy who can turn this around. I'm a conservative. I want things to go back to the way they were. We want things to go back to how they were in 2016 before we left the European Union. Or what's it called? What was the like? I want things to go back to how they were in the 18th century when Scotland was independent.
Yeah.
Oh man. Or what's it called? Or just or do like a British like public works project and build a golden throne for Queen Elizabeth. Just sacrifice 10,000 psychers to her a day.
That joke doesn't work anymore, unfortunately, because she's actually dead.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess the more it was more just like fancy life support. Luckily, like that's the other thing. Luckily, like the UK is about to go through a lot of fun things because like they've got a new prime minister and a new king, and both of them have got like 6 months tops in the job. So like they've got a lot going through.
God, I'm really looking forward to the coronation because like no one likes King Charles.
No, I can't wait to see his ugly ass face on all my coins. That's gonna be great.
Oh shit, you have that right on Canadian money.
Yeah, yeah, what's it called? I got a Canadian quarter right here, and it's got the old lady on it.
Is that the loony?
This is a quarter.
Toonie?
The quarter, 25-cent piece.
Okay.
But it's got the queen on it. So
I mean, I shouldn't say shit because like if I found a Swedish coin somewhere, I don't know who uses coins here anymore. I would find the king. So like I can't say shit.
But like Charles is already like in his 70s, and they haven't said it, but from his fingers alone, you can tell that he's got some sort of kidney problem.
Yeah.
He's got some
And he's like on his fifth kidney at this point.
yeah. So like, has his coronation not even happened yet? No, it's happening in like May.
May?
Yeah. I guess they want to wait to see how many. They got to clear out all of the bodies of all the British people who froze to death over the winter first, and then.
Yeah, it's May. Holy shit.
Yeah, I live in a British subject. I have to learn about this shit even if I don't want to.
We don't even have coronations anymore. Like when our king dies, we're gonna have a queen, and that's it. We're not gonna have like a fancy, expensive ceremony. We're just gonna do it and have it. It's done.
The UK is going to use like the last $20 it has left to do this coronation.
It's just like turning pockets inside out to try to find like the money for the crown that they're gonna buy from like Burger King.
They're gonna go and like what's it called? They're gonna go and bring back the tax collector system where they just have random guys just go house to house and beat people up and take their money. Someone jumped off a bridge here because of cost of living. Yeah, the UK is in a really fucking bad in the UK state. Yeah. This is called
like it's bad all, but it's really bad in the UK.
Mm-hmm. It's not good. UK, what's it called? I'm starting to think that Brexit was maybe. I'm starting to think that this wasn't worth it to get rid of the Muslims and Polish people.
They haven't even done that either.
Yeah.
like even the thing that they wanted to do, they failed at doing, and they just made everything worse for themselves.
Yeah, where's all those NHS birds? Money birds.
Oh.
I also love that like many of the like real people who campaign for Brexit have just moved to America. Can we have your liver then? Oh yeah. Oh yes, you talked me into it. Meaning of Life, underrated Monty Python movie.
Good one.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what we got next.
The salmon.
The
salmon moose.
I'm recording an episode on the Grim Reaper for the podcast this week, and I'm wondering if that is too arcane a reference now.
I mean, I'm Babby, and I know it.
All right, that's good. You all
like. I feel like everyone has watched Monty Python because it's like a sort of like thing you do as a teenager, or like in your early 20s. Like everyone watches Monty Python for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Although I will say, this is a weird thing. I've never seen Life of Brian.
Really?
Yeah, it's the only Monty Python media I haven't seen. Because I've watched all the show, and I have seen the other two movies, but I have not seen Life of Brian.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like bad crass jokes and slight transphobia.
Oh boy.
Notwithstanding.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we got a question. We can get another question in before we go. I'm leaning more and more anarchist lately. Good job. I agree. What text do you recommend I read first? I'm leaning towards either Bookchin or Mutual Aid. Murray Bookchin is really good for... Oh, this is Matt Lipton. Sweet. Matt Lipton's a regular and a Canadian to boot. He's the one who sent me a book on the link between petro money and fascism. Anyways, Murray Bookchin is a very good person to read. Definitely the whole idea of democratic confederalism. There's another person that you might want to. Abdullah Öcalan is his name. Abdullah Öcalan, who is a Kurdish political philosopher who is basically the intellectual father, even though he was in prison. He's in prison today in Turkey, I think. He's the intellectual father behind the Rojava movement.
Fun fact. If you in Sweden currently post up posters or say something along the lines of like, hey, maybe like Öcalan shouldn't be in prison, the Swedish government gets angry at you because we're trying to get into NATO, and Turkey like is fighting us because they think we're too friendly to the Kurds.
Oh boy.
And so, as part of the left party, I'm one of the few people who can like very much be like, yes, good. Like, don't let us into NATO. We don't want to be. We want to protect our Kurds, and also we should free Öcalan.
Abdullah Öcalan's books is called, I want to say it's called The Ecology of Freedom. But what I like about Abdullah Öcalan is that he has an anarchism and a leftist politics that has its that is rooted primarily in environmentalism, pacifism, and women's rights. Like those are like the things that are like his motivations for developing a leftist, like sort of anarchist philosophy, which I think is fucking great. Yeah. He also has a book called Democratic Confederalism, which is interesting. Yeah, so that's, I think it's called The Ecology of Freedom. I gotta find it. But either way, very good guy. Also, there's if you want more theory, Mutual Aid is a very good book. Mutual Aid is sort of an idea that that was written by Pyotr Kropotkin, and that's a book about how it shows that cooperation is actually a more evolutionary advantageous trait than competition, and that like it's sort of it was written at a time where he was explicitly repudiating social Darwinism, basically, from an anarchist lens. There's also The Conquest of Bread, which shows a lot of stuff about how in the past, like a lot of the most successful parts of like the past were also anarchist in nature, like the way of like medieval cities functioned and stuff like that. That's about the most.
Oh damn it! Now I want to play Dithmark and then EU4 again. Peasants Republic.
Man, yeah, I can't wait for Victoria 3. I'm gonna do communism in so many weird places.
Communist Byzantine Empire.
Yeah, like this is why I'm like
What
bad
on
at playing
earth would that even
EU4.
look like?
So I'm bad at playing EU4 because every time I play, no matter what country I'm in, I'm like, how do I make these guys communist? There is a way to do that every way. Can you make Germany communist? That sounds like a thing that would be balls to the wall funny.
In EU4 or in Victoria?
In Hearts of Iron.
Oh yeah, maybe not now actually.
Communist,
you used to.
How do you do I wonder what World War II becomes if you go communist Germany? I guess it goes red alert.
Yeah, kinda. It becomes very red alert. I don't think. I mean, I think it is possible. I don't know how, but I think it is possible.
How is there not an alternate history that is like something like everyone does alternate history is like, oh, what if Germans were still imperialist and stuff, like the Kaiserreich thing? Has no one thought to do what if the 1919 Spartan Revolution was successful?
You'd think, right?
And
there are mods for that shit, but like nothing else.
Where like Germany becomes Germany basically becomes like the preeminent communist country over Russia.
I would love to see some alt history about that, but you can't cater to wearaboos in that way.
Yeah, President Rosa Luxemburg, or what's it called, General Secretary Rosa Luxemburg.
If you play Luxembourg in Hearts of Iron 4 and you make it communist, it names itself Rosa Luxemburg.
Like the country?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Can you? Okay.
The Rosa Reich will last 1,000 years. But it would be interesting.
Yeah.
It would be interesting because at that pivotal moment, like 1919, 1920, like that kind of period, like the reason why international communism and the left went the way it did was a lot because of Russia becoming the center country of it. If another country had been like the communist country, a lot of things would have been different because the Soviets sort of like set the policy. Anyways, I just realized it's 2:00.
Oh shit.
So before, and also like now I need to go get Babby so that we can go get coffee. Because
Coffee with the baby, yeah.
The Babby just got back from a walk with mom, so now he's gonna go for a walk with dad. It's 7
Cute.
degrees outside, but sure. Okay, so before we go though, where can somebody consume the content you excrete from your content glands?
You can absorb my content mucus by going to youtube.com/c/miamulder.
If you want to get your political content, you go to Stockholm and become a citizen.
You become a citizen of Sollentuna kommun, and you write an email to mia.mulder@sollentuna.se, and I will answer like a politician and be like, I am in the opposition. I can't actually do that much. Yeah, you can do that. You can listen to my podcast, Leech Fest. It's on Spotify and wherever else you listen to podcasts. It's very good. We just recorded our Halloween episode. Spooky. Yeah. I sometimes play games on Twitch, twitch.tv/miamulder. I'll play something tomorrow, I think.
Yeah. This week we're recording our Day of the Dead episode.
Ooh.
All right. Yeah, I will be back next week. We're going to raid Rob Rousseau on Twitch. And I'll hopefully be back next week, pending, my life is chaos, so I can't be reliable. Anyways, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I'll see you on the other side.